First thing a victim talks about is it's my karma. As in, it's some outside force controlling, some planet controlling my karmic pattern and the result of the way I live my life.
The outside world is made up of dark forces. So the forces are always going to come and attack you. But your power, your inner power is what has to outcreate those forces. In my astrological chart and my husband's astrological chart, a divorce is like mandatory possible in 3 years of our marriage. So when I regressed myself, I saw in 5 lifetimes, we were as a couple, we were supposed to be married and we never made it. So this was only a repetition pattern. So the invitation in this lifetime is we have to live together.
Accept every aspect of their being radically as well as I accept myself.
And unconditionally.
And unconditionally.
If I cannot accept one person unconditionally for who they are, and however I've grown spiritually, it's very easy to be spiritual when you're alone.
Let's take an example of a woman who is, or a man who's going through an abusive relationships. What choice would I make? Would I choose to look at love, or would I choose to say this is what it is?
I'm not saying it is your fault. No, I never said this. But it is your responsibility to explore where inside me is this energy of abuse I'm carrying that I'm attracting this. First, most immediate tool that I would vouch for is the first thumb rule of shadow work is if you don't use it consciously, it will keep using you in the wrong places.
Carl Jung very beautifully used to say it. He's
Yes.
like, the shadow runs your life and you keep calling it fate.
Yeah.
And in this case, people keep calling it karma. We live in a world where we are told to work harder, think positively, and manifest more. But deep down, so many of us feel trapped in repeating cycles, in the same toxic relationships, the same financial struggles, the same patterns of self-sabotage. And we all blame it on one single thing, karma. कुछ भी हो तो हमारा कर्म ही खराब है. Why? Because karma isn't just some mystical idea. It's coded into us in our very own DNA. But is karma truly that? That's exactly what today's episode is about. Hi everyone, my name is Natasha Kumar, the co-founder of NeoYug. And joining us today is someone who has helped thousands of people across the world break free from their limiting beliefs around karma. She's a therapist, a life coach, and holds PhD in quantum physics. Mentored by legends like Louise Hay, Wim Hof, Joe Dispenza, and many others. Her work combines science, spirituality, and psychology in the way that's nothing short of extraordinary and groundbreaking. Please help me welcome Dr. Ramon Lamba. Welcome, Ramon. Thank you for coming on this masterclass with us. And I know we have something really beautiful built for our audience today. But before we begin, I want to talk about that your work primarily works around psychology, a lot of Vedantic principle and quantum principles, right? And I see this as a beautiful merger coming together, and you've been able to beautifully put that out for the world to experience. But before we start, I really want to know what got you started on this journey. Like, what was that something early teenager years for you? What happened? What transpired that you came onto this journey? I would really love to know more about that.
Thank you so much, Natasha. And I'm super excited also to be here. So when I talk about my life, going back to the best that I can remember when I was 13, 14, while I was growing up, I remember growing up as a very, very connected person.
Mhm.
When I say connected, um, always connected to my inner core.
Yeah.
And one of the best gifts of my childhood trauma, of childhood neglect in my environment was I never ever left the soul space and came out.
Mm.
So, always an introvert, being within, always had this innate knowingness of inner power.
Yeah.
I understood one thing at a very early age that the outside world is made up of dark forces.
Mm.
So the forces are always going to come and attack you.
Okay.
But your power,
Right.
your inner power is what has to
Yeah.
outcreate those forces.
Right.
So this knowingness was there, but then obviously when you're a child, you don't know how to implement this knowledge. So then you get married.
Mm.
I got married at 18 and without a manual,
Right.
right? And then the challenges start.
Mm.
Right? At 20, I was a mother of 2 kids.
Wow.
And then you have to face emotional challenges in relationships because obviously you're not trained how to deal with them.
Yeah.
and financial challenges
Hmm.
in a big way.
Right.
That is when, and like I said, these challenges were the outside forces.
Yeah.
And that is when the whole essence of getting into my own power, personal power, because I remember one thing that always stayed with me was this mantra, Aham Brahmasmi.
Hmm.
I always lived with this principle that every given moment, no matter what force is showing up on the outside, you are the creator of your reality.
Yes.
And that doesn't really mean that I created this, but at every given moment, I have the power to outcreate this and create a new reality.
Right.
So my journey into the self started with these challenges that showed up in my life at
Did
a
you ever
very young
question
age.
that inner authority ever in that path?
A lot,
Hmm.
a lot. Question it to the extent that sleepless nights.
Yeah.
So I grew up as a, by default, I was a peacemaker.
Right.
So fighting, conflicts, being a victim was not in my design.
Right.
But after marriage, then these challenges brought out the worst in me,
Hmm.
right? And they brought out the victim in me. They brought out the uh, abuser in me, the the most aggressive side, and I did not want to be that person. And I could not relate to this shadow side, this dark side of me. So that is when I realized I'm not going to go on the outside and fight anything. And the journey within started. And again, like I said, because I truly believed we all carry this innate power of the divine within us.
Yeah. It takes a lot of radical responsibility to be able to even say that this is what my shadow side also emerged as, an acceptance that I do have it. That I believe the world we live in, a complete polarity, either it's good or bad, it's positive or negative, but acceptance that we are gray and acceptance that we have both the sides and we just need to merge both the sides to live this human experience. And I think that requires
Absolutely.
radical responsibility.
Yes. And I would also agree that at times this responsibility became a burden
Mm,
because when you're at that state of empathy for self and other people, then you also end up taking their burden on yourself. So
yeah.
anything going on in your world outside, if they're behaving a certain way, you end up blaming yourself. So the responsibility to an extent of self blame, I guess.
Mm,
And that was also sabotaging at times.
yeah.
But then again, with great power comes great responsibility. And with great responsibility, then comes transformation.
Mm.
So it's been a long journey,
Beautiful,
but a
beautiful.
beautiful one.
Wow. Thank you so much, for sharing that. And today we know you as Ramon, and everybody lovingly, I think they call you Dr. Ramon, right?
Yes.
Because you do bring that presence and authority to the table. And we know that you've learned from the best. One of the best things about you is that you actually went to the best to learn all these modalities. You went to Louise Hay, you went to Dr. Joe Dispenza, you learned with them, you practiced with them for some time, and now you're doing this in India. Can you talk about the whole ideology? Why did you went to the best, and how are you bringing those practices into the play here for all of us to
Yeah.
experience?
So when you understand the essence of life, it's made up of three areas: money, health, and relationships.
Mm.
And when I talk of health, it's primarily your mental, emotional,
Yeah,
physical, and spiritual.
yeah,
So that's what life is made up of. But I also, at a very early age, I really don't remember where I read this or where I understood this. It's not in my memory right now, but it stayed with me that the pyramid of life,
mm.
when I talk about from the Big Bang to our end, when I go from below the pyramid, scaling up, at the base of it, it's sacred geometry. So everything in the universe is numbers, patterns,
Yeah,
geometric patterns.
yeah,
So then from the geometry, sacred geometry comes out physics.
mm.
Physics is all about vibrations, energy, matter, right? And then from the energy or the physics layer, the second layer, comes out chemistry.
Mm.
And we are nothing but a biochemical machine. Our brain is chemicals, our emotions are chemicals,
Yeah,
right? Then the chemistry creates biology,
mm.
and that creates psychology.
Right.
Most of us are stuck only at the upper layer of psychology, is the behavior patterns,
Mm.
right? But for me, when I understood this, I said, I have to do everything in my power to understand this entire pyramid.
Right.
So it was really important for me to understand quantum physics, neurochemistry, psychology, karma healing,
Yeah.
spiritual science, emotional healing. So this understanding took me here, there, to all the, and obviously, yes, like I said, I always grew up believing that I just deserve the best.
Beautiful.
So I
Yeah.
just wanted to train with the best on the planet at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and you've been able to bring that in a very simplified way. I think a lot of your work is very simplified now. It does get a little more deeper when the person is ready, but it is very simplified. And I think you've been able to weave all of that very beautifully. Um, so Dr. Ramon, we know that you merge all of these topics into one. And of course, with NeoYog, we've built this program on karma, which is the karma code. It's from loop to liberation in 21 days, right? The whole idea when we wanted to build this program with you, and we knew you would be the right person to build this program with, because at the core, I think at NeoYog, we are building programs that take one from the victim mentality to a space where somebody says, I can control or work with my own free will. I can take responsibility for my behavior. I can take responsibility for my life. And when we were talking about it, the first thing a victim talks about is it's my karma, you know, as in it's some outside force controlling, some planet controlling my karmic pattern and the result of the way I live my life, right? You talk a lot about that in depth. That karma is not an outside thing, it's a very internal thing. Can you explain a little bit more on that for us?
So when you understand this entire premise of creation,
Yeah.
right? Like let me give you an example. Uh, a seed, a root creates a fruit. A foundation creates a building.
Yeah.
So everything, like when you understand even creation of life, it happens on the inside in the womb space and then it shows up on the outside as matter. So this entire premise of life is a game between energy and matter.
Mm.
Energy is the non-physical aspect.
Yep.
Matter is the physical solidified energy,
Right.
right? So when you understand our universe from a standpoint of certain laws and principles, there's this one law of correspondence that states that as above, so below, as within, so without. And quantum field and even our Vedas have clearly stated that the outside field is only a mirror that's always reflecting
Yep.
what's on the inside.
Yep.
So our inner world is reality. Our outer world is the reflection of that reality. So when you want to change anything on the outside, it's really important you go within and change that.
Yeah.
And karma as a concept is nothing but an energy of cause and effect, right? So the energy that I put into motion, the causes that I put into motion come back to me as an effect.
Yeah.
So whatever is on the outside world is what's coming back, right? But where is the cause? I am putting the cause in motion. Now, one of the biggest gaps in understanding this is people feel my actions are becoming the causes. But it's not only the action, it's also our subtle vibrations.
Right.
So our thoughts
Right.
become the cause, our feelings become the cause.
Right.
When I'm sitting and judging someone, right, I'm vibrating and broadcasting a negative
Yep.
energy of separation.
Yeah.
So now that has to come back to me as separating me from someone in my life,
Yeah.
as an example. So it's really important to recognize that karma simply is nothing but a law of cause and effect, right? Anything that's unprocessed in the universe has to become processed, because the first thumb rule of energy in physics is energy is meant to be in motion.
Right.
And any stuck, unprocessed energy, solidified
Right.
energy
Right.
that's not in motion. So that keeps repeating as a pattern in our life that people call karma.
Is it right to say that stuck energy, that a state of ideologies, ideas, conditioning being stuck within my body or within my auric field somewhere or the other, causing my outer reality
Yes,
to shift?
exactly. So when I have a certain belief, right, that's solidified energy.
Yeah.
When I have a certain unprocessed memory
Yeah.
from the past that I've not let go,
Yeah.
that is solidified energy. When I'm carrying stories from the past, and past could mean any lifetime. It could mean the 9 months when you were in your mother's womb. It could mean your early childhood.
Yeah.
Right? So anything that I did not have space to process it, let go, and put it into motion stays stuck as a solidified energy block.
Right.
Now, that block is dense by nature. And when I look at the vibration force of it, it's very negative.
Yeah.
So, and another thing is, because it's dense, it goes and settles very deep down in our unconscious or subconscious memory.
Right.
And we are not even aware these blocks are inside us.
Yeah.
But we are vibrating at it. Consciously, I may be a positive person, but
Mm.
in my subconscious, I have these negative unforgiveness. I deserve abuse. I'm not good enough. So I'm vibrating at that, but I'm not aware I'm vibrating. So
Yeah.
all of that is coming back to me, and then I end up being a victim.
Yeah.
Saying that, see, I'm such a nice person, but why does negative happen to me?
True. Yeah.
So it's the unprocessed energy deep down in our unconscious and subconscious memories.
And I think that's majority of us living like that in the world, where we are constantly saying, hey, even the whole question around why does bad thing happen to good people? I
Yeah.
mean, that's such a non uh, acceptance state to be in as well, right? And I think that's majority of us. And we live in a country where we like to put it on an outer thing. We like to put it on planets. We like to put it on things. And then to even overcome that, we do certain rituals, which I'm not saying are bad or anything. I mean, a ritual is a beautiful thing if one does it correctly. But what you're saying here, Ramon, is by going inward, looking internally, being in that radical acceptance space of your shadows, you can shift your reality.
Absolutely. See, rituals always are a very good thing for the first level of awakening
Mm.
because they create a lot of self awareness.
Right.
Let's say I'm doing a mantra chanting, I'm doing a puja. So when I'm chanting with those vibrations,
Mm.
something inside me wakes up.
Yeah.
But they're the only first step, and people are only caught up there. And they feel change will happen, but the change doesn't happen.
Mm.
It's important to recognize, Natasha, that when you understand this entire premise of creation, we all come from spirit and we become soul.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference between spirit and soul? Uh, the spirit is all white. It's like pure light consciousness, pure
Yeah.
energy, pure white light. You would call it the God intelligence, the divine intelligence. But when that light chooses to lower its resolution and come into a 3D world of matter, it has to be dual by nature. Dual by nature. So the soul is dual by nature,
Mm.
duality.
Mm.
The spirit is pure white light.
Mm.
So now that same spirit diluted itself
Yeah.
to stay in the material world in a state of duality. Duality means dark and light.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to establish is every single soul has darkness.
Mm.
Now, what is showing up in your life as dark is the darkness inside you, right?
True.
And the game of life was I am going into this 3D world with the darkness inside me,
Yeah.
and I'm going to transmute it into all light and come back and attain moksha.
Right.
That was the game.
Right.
Now, how can you transmute darkness inside you by fighting the outside world?
Yeah.
So, is it possible for us to then go within and recognize, okay, this is the dark side of me?
Mm.
And darkness is not wrong,
True.
okay?
Yeah.
But it is inside you. And your job is to transmute it. It's carrying a dark energy signature with your name on it,
Yeah.
right? So, it's important we go within. And the moment I start shifting my darkness into light, my outer world is only a reflection. Everything starts changing
Yeah. Yeah.
beautifully.
I think what your work also does it, when we had the experience of seeing live action of your way of working, I think a couple of months back, when you took two of our team members through a very intense experience very lovingly. And I think both of them came out from that experience in, I think a lot of shift happened for them in their life, right? And I think a lot many mentors who can dwell into those darker realms with people and do it in a loving way is the need of the hour. And I think that's what you bring to the table. That yes, this whole work and even the program that we've built, it is only for people who are willing to take that step forward, who are ready to say, you know what, I'm going to get out of that mindset. I'm going to take control of my own inner being, understand my true nature internally, and then perhaps look at shifting my outer reality from that state. And what you do is you do that very lovingly and kindly. So I think that's one of the most beautiful aspects of your being, which is very interesting. And I do have a question followed up on that.
Sure.
For somebody who dwells so much deep into those dark aspects of human nature, of our own, even beyond human nature, where does this love comes from?
Well, nobody has ever asked me this question. I've never spoken about this in my entire 35 years of learning and growing. So there was a very, very dark side of me, a very dark side. And we all carry this dark side, this buried victim, this buried not good enough, and the darkest side. And when I was exploring this, I realized there was no container to hold,
Mm.
because, like, if you see, my mentoring also happened, like going to US with this teacher, that teacher, that teacher. And at that time we did not have coaches,
Right.
right? You didn't have someone to hold space for you. And I would do a course, I would learn, come back. It would be a 1 month training, 2 month training, but come back to my darkness and sit with it.
Mm.
So the endless years that I've sat with my darkness, when my Kundalini awakened, I did not even know what this is. And I went into a total extreme state of polarity,
Mm.
depression, to the extent that I could even move into the dark dimensions and see dark spirits, souls, energies, those attacks. But like again, I'm saying that innate knowingness of my inner power always overpowered these dark forces.
Beautiful.
And there were a few experiences in my journey where I literally had dark attacks on me. And again, like I said, outside there's only force.
Yeah.
Inside there's only power.
Yeah.
So the power always overcame the force, always overcame the force.
Mm. Yeah.
And I realized the force within us is the divine force, which is compassionate, which is loving, and we are not separate.
Yes.
So when I'm healing someone, I'm actually seeing one wounded version of me that was there in the past that I integrated.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing that outside as fragmented.
Yeah.
So I think my own pain that I went through makes me compassionate about the pain that I see there.
I think that's very beautiful thing that you just said, that when I look at somebody who's going through that journey, when you're holding that space for them, we do see a reflection of our own being into
Yes.
some the other. And we can only give that love when we start giving that love internally to ourselves first, and
ourselves.
stop judging us for our own darkness
Yeah.
and saying, hey, you know what? It is all right. That darkness for me is completely fine, and I can accept it. I can live with it. I can work with it.
You know, the darkness is only waiting that you tune inside
Yeah.
to love it, to accept it, to see it, to understand it, and to hear it.
Beautiful.
And once you've done that and
Yeah.
embodied that darkness,
Yeah.
it starts transmuting into light, and that flows into your being, into every moment of your existence.
Yeah.
It becomes a flow.
Right.
But it's been a journey. If you met me 20 years back, maybe I was not as compassionate because I was in the journey,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? I would be the strict teacher who would wanted to change people, but there was always a streak of judgment, because today I realize that was actually not a judgment to them. It was more about myself.
Wow. So true. I mean, I mean, it's gonna blows everyone's mind, because it is, as you very rightly said, our outer reality is a reflection of our inner
Yes.
reality. And the more we look within, the more we can shift outside.
Yes.
So even the whole idea of manifestation, blaming it on karma, all of that, it is the upper shallow layer of work, while the deeper work is somewhere else.
Yes.
And that's what we've done in this program. I'm plugging it in again, I know.
Yes.
But Ramon, would you like to talk about karma as a concept in today's world? What can we do in the whole pyramid of schemes that you talked about? What layers are we touching when we want to shift that whole karmic pattern of our own being, right? With this program, where are we dwelling into, first of all, to begin with? Now, somebody is aware that the whole karmic conversation, it is not outside of me, it's an internal thing, right? But what all are we touching in this whole conversation that we're having, in this whole 21 days of thing that we're
Yeah.
doing?
So, like I said, when you understand it from a standpoint of the pyramid of life, you start at the topmost layer, psychology,
Right.
right? Psychology is nothing but it talks about the whole theory of our behavior patterns,
Mm.
of why we became the way we became. Why am I an angry person? Why am I a sad person? Why am I a victim? So that's a psychological aspect of it, where we talk about our trauma, what happened to us, and all of that. And then the next layer we talk about is biology. So the trauma not only is stored in our mind,
Yeah.
but is also stored in our body, in our biology.
Right.
And our mind and our body are like a rider and a horse
Mhm.
that have to be aligned.
Hmm.
So in this course, we definitely we have aspects of aligning mind body
Yeah.
with certain breathwork techniques, and because your memories are stored in your body but are reflecting in your mind.
Mm. Yeah.
we feel that our memories are stored in our mind, right? And we only do the mental self-cleaning and we say, okay, now I've forgiven and now I'm good to go. And I
Yeah.
start charging on in life. And suddenly the drama shows up again because the body keeps the score,
Yeah.
right?
True that.
So in this program, we have certain tools, technique to take it deeper than the mind into the body. And then what is happening in the body is our emotions, right? And they are happening at a chemical level, the third layer of the pyramid, chemistry.
Right.
So how to neuroscience, chemistry, how to change brain chemistry. And that's where the 21-day essence come. Because according to neuroscience, if you want to change the hardwired programs and memories of your mind, you have to keep repeating, do the same process for minimum 21 days. It becomes a little solidified. But if you end up doing it for 60 days to 90 days, then you've had a changed new way of being, a new version of you emerges.
Right. Right.
So that 21 days is more from a biochemical state of transformation. Then we dwell deeper, right? At the next layer, energy, physics, right? Here we are talking about your vibrations. How's your thoughts and your feelings? Your thoughts are electric and your feelings are magnetic. And together they are creating this electromagnetic frequency, this energy.
Yeah.
And we are energy producing machines. And our chakras are our energy generators. So how can we dive deep into that and change the entire vibrational focus of our existence?
Yeah.
And then we come into the sacred geometry patterns where I'm changing the patterns of my destiny. So when I change it only at this level, right, does everything else above the pyramid automatically change? When I change the patterns of my karmic destiny, I end up changing my psychological patterns. So this entire pyramid is so connected then.
So technically, you're saying by following this route, there is a possibility to shift the reality from what I was living in. And you used
Yes.
something called that you can obsolete your past karma by doing
So,
this
yeah,
work. Would you like to talk
I'll
on
tell
that?
you, yeah. So it's like Buckminster Fuller's quote, I really, really live every moment by it. And he says you cannot destroy an existing reality because energy cannot be created, not destroyed. However, you can build a new reality next to it that makes the old reality obsolete.
Right.
इसका मतलब क्या है? That, okay, if you have a choti line in your life, which is your problem, you can't fight with it.
Right.
You cannot fight with it because it's energy, it's solidified matter. You cannot destroy it.
Right.
But there's so much empty space in the quantum field कि तुम बड़ी line खींच दो ना. And then you'll forget the choti line. If I give you an example, for example, let's say you're in a marriage, and I'm talking about my own relationship, for example, because our karmic understanding is there in our astrological charts.
Right.
Our astrological chart is like a sum total of my karmic lessons that I have to learn.
Right.
So it's like a report card of my past lifetime. So in my astrological chart and my husband's astrological chart, if you see, a divorce is like mandatory possible in 3 years of our marriage.
Wow.
Right? Now, when I understand it from a very layman's perspective, so everything will happen in the marriage for us to move away.
Right.
But when I understand it from a higher spiritual dimension and a transmutation perspective or healing karma perspective, I recognize that, okay, this is only a blueprint because this has been a repeated pattern. Karma is a repeated pattern.
Yeah.
So when I regressed myself, I saw in 5 lifetimes, previous to this lifetime, we were as a couple, we were supposed to be married, and we never made it. So this was only a repetition pattern. So the invitation in this lifetime is we have to live together.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot showed up. But in all of that showing up, my personal responsibility and his personal responsibility made us better people.
Wow.
It made us embody this relationship beyond our patterns, our psychological patterns. So going to the core of it and understanding that we are two souls on a journey and we are going to make this happen. Right? So that is how you can outcreate your destiny, your karmic destiny. हमने बड़ी line खींच दी by changing our behaviors, by looking at what are the reasons that are coming the way for our divorce. Let's work on that.
You know, this was mind-shattering for all of us when we heard that. I mean, backstage just now. That whatever is written in that chart, it is a nudge.
The nudge.
It's a nudge for us to discover what is going to be my healing path for that particular area, right? It was like massive. Like I kept thinking, I remember a couple of years back, an astrologer told me that, madam, you don't have a marriage line in your, you don't have a marriage thing. And I was like, sure, I don't want to even get married, right? And I was very joyed. I was in a joyous mood. I was like, sure, likhi bhi nahi aur hogi bhi nahi, and I don't even want it. But then as I started looking deeper into my relationship patterns, my desire for love, love for myself and for others, and to be in a companionship, all of this started bubbling up.
Showing up.
And everything just kept repeating what that astrologer told me, that madam aapke to likhi nahi hai. And I was like, oh my god, this is, I would have everything in this lifetime except for this one thing. And when you said that backstage, something clicked for me. And I was like, maybe that is what I'm supposed to really look at.
Yes.
That is what I'm supposed to work with. That it's not just the individual experience of my being as Natasha in this reality, but to be able to experience this with somebody and accept every aspect of their being radically, as well as I accept myself.
And unconditionally.
And unconditionally
That's the learning.
is my lesson.
And that's a spiritual lesson.
Yeah.
If I cannot accept one person unconditionally for who they are,
Yeah.
and how have I grown spiritually?
Yeah.
It's very easy to be spiritual when you're alone.
So true. We don't need
But
more
live in
monks
a
on the mountain.
family, live with all those people who have their patterns, and then stay calm.
Yes.
That's the real test.
Yes. Beautifully said. I mean, this is one big one, right? I mean, it again, I'm using that word again. It is radical responsibility. And this work is for people who are ready to do that work, right?
Yes.
Now, Dr. Ramon, we've done this we structured this in 21 days, right? Would you like to take us through what all can somebody expect from this program when they start this whole journey? And I like to put it as a quest, because it is a quest. It is a journey into the abyss of your inner world. What can one expect out of this when they do this?
So it really depends on how they use this course, first of all. But how I like to put it for everyone is like, I'm going to share something about my personal life
Right.
before I even share what the takeaway from this course is going to be. So I made my life a project. The day I understood that I was here for a reason. See, the objective of us coming into Earth was to clean some undone work.
Right.
Making money and, going out to parties, having fun, traveling was a byproduct of this material world,
Right.
which we are meant to be doing. But the real objective was we came here to clean something, right? And how does this something show up? It shows up in your core karmic relationships. Your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, your in-laws, your spouse, your children, and all of the core inner group. They become your karmic group soul.
Right.
Because you have a karmic contract with them.
Right.
And you signed up something. So you subscribe to this story of your life, right? So when I understood this, I made my life a project where I said, I'm going to take one relationship per year, right? And only focus on that relationship and clean it and then go to the next and the next.
Right.
Starting with my father, my mother, right? So what I've put in this 21 years is they might not have to take in 1 year per relationship or per story.
Right.
So they could repeat this 21 days for every single relationship. The same process. Process is the same.
Yeah. It could be
Right.
relationship with money,
Money,
people, anything.
it could be your own relation with your own pattern
True.
at showing up, your own anger.
Yes.
So let's say, but then you have to be linear when you're working with yourself.
Yeah.
You can't be all over the place. So in 121 days, you can't expect all of your life to heal.
Right.
So my only invitation is take up one subject per 21 days.
Hmm.
So let's say you have 100 subjects, so you have 21 days into 100 times. Do it.
Yeah.
Why would you not do it? Because you've come here to clean your life.
So setting intention rightly
Yes.
for this
And for
21
this
days.
21 days, my agenda
Yeah.
is only my relationship with my mother. Okay, so you finish that, take a break, enjoy for 2 months, come back.
Yeah.
Then, okay, now next 21 days, I'm going to invest with my father, my relationship.
Yeah.
Then with my spouse, then with my money,
Hmm.
with my health.
Yes.
The process is very, this course has very beautifully been curated into a very linear process. So it makes it very easy for you to follow step by step.
Right.
Like I again said, the results will be in how you invest, what is the intention. For me, it took me like one year per relation because I did not have the tools.
Wow.
I was collecting tools from here and there. So I would go and learn EFT. But then when I studied EFT, I said, oh my God, this is so incomplete. It is just one part of the
Right.
journey. So then, okay, top it up with Ho'oponopono and see, wow, this works.
Hmm.
Okay, now EFT Ho'oponopono. Let's do some mantra chanting and vibrational change,
Right.
right? And some breath work.
Yeah.
So when you add on all of this, it's like, when you go into a surgery, the surgeon has so many tools
Hmm.
and he uses all of them one by one. He just doesn't
Yes.
use one tool, right?
Yeah.
But he gets the whole result. So this 21 days is like a end-to-end process. And my invitation is you could change your entire life, but don't expect it to change in 21 days.
Hmm.
Take one subject at a time because your life is like a jigsaw puzzle of many pieces.
True.
So heal each piece patiently, lovingly,
Yeah.
and the process is here.
Dr. Ramon, would you like to give certain examples of somebody who's done this work with you, right? Any example of any particular part of their life that what shifted for them? Because as they say, there is always gold at the end of it. They always say that. It is dark abyss, but there is always gold at the end of it.
Yes.
And you don't know what that gold is. Gold is not an outcome, it is a state of being. Would you like to share an outcome of any one of your person that you've healed and worked with on this
So,
particular
yeah,
point?
I mean, one particular story at this moment I cannot, but I can definitely tell you people having upgraded their money reality,
Wow.
right? So they come to me with, again, the same, like I've healed so many relationships who come to me and हमारे astrology charts में divorce लिखा हुआ है.
Hmm.
And today they're still together. In fact, on every anniversary, they come and bring me flowers,
Beautiful. Yeah.
right? Like I can just randomly right now while I'm talking think about 4 or 5 couples, their names are there.
Wow.
Then people who are sinking into loans, like I'm talking about a tune of few 100 crore loans with the banks, and they're stuck and nothing at all to save them from that.
Hmm.
They just start the inner journey,
Yeah.
right? And beautifully, because see, like we have the 14-month program. I don't take people for a short term because I know I can't give results.
Right.
By the end of the 14-month journey, they don't even know how the loan got paid up. Like I was sitting with this one person and he had such a big loan and all his assets were only 20% of the loan amount
Right.
when they came to me. So he was suicidal and there was a lot of problem. So we said, okay, let's get started on working on you
Right.
and let's change your inner state, your karma and all of that. And we went into deep work. By the end of the 14 months, we were sitting on pen and paper and the only loan that he had left was almost about 5 or 6%. And he doesn't know how it happened.
Beautiful.
Energy, because when you change your energy, you change your life.
Yeah.
And where is that energy being generated? Inside you, not outside.
Hmm.
So the thumb rule is change your energy and change your life.
Yeah.
Because your life outside is only a reflection of your inner energy,
Right. Right.
right? And when you understand, let's understand for a moment, Natasha, the human being, right, has lived 84 lakh yonis to reach to become the human. So we are carrying all of the universe inside us.
Hmm.
Do you know our chakras are made up of the 5 elements?
Mm.
We are carrying the 5 elements within us. We are carrying the energy of the 9 planets within us on our fingertips, right? Aham Brahmasmi.
We think of ourselves as these tiny, puny humans in a bodysuit walking
Yeah.
around.
So if you can't change your reality, who is going to do it? Who
Mm.
can?
Yeah.
There's no God out there who, the Hanuman that you're praying is inside you, the energy. The
True.
Ganesh you're praying is inside you. Embody that energy and become that frequency
Yeah.
and tune in there.
Yeah.
It's that simple if you get it.
Yeah.
So then what happens is from the darkness, you move into the light. You
But what
move into
would-
that gold.
I understand that. I mean, it's a beautiful way. For me, it took me some time to get to that state. That there is a Shakti in me that I can now live with and fully be in the world with, right? But there is an aspect of the Natasha who is still questioning. And there are many, I'm sure there are many out there who are in that current state of saying, hey, because when you're in the thick and thin of that mud, the mud of your own reality, of your own, sometimes you're not literally in the mud, but mentally you're stuck there. What would you say to somebody who's just mentally there and who doesn't even want to listen to any of this at the moment? Because it feels so out of reach at the moment. While we know it's not the reality, but right now for them, in that moment, it just feels out of reach.
See, Natasha, it's really important to recognize. All I would say is I feel compassion for everybody on the planet, no matter where they are on their journey. But the journey is moving forward.
Mm.
If not today, 5 years down the line, they'll wake up. So everybody's awakening today,
Mm.
right? Everybody, it's a mandate.
Yeah.
this year and the next 10 years, because we're moving from 3D to 5D, everybody has to awaken.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not awake today, right? But down the line, they will awaken. And it's not important that they embody this 21-day course. Maybe they might awaken through going to a mandir, and it might be a trigger and it might awaken. Maybe it might awaken through another guru.
Yeah.
They say, when the student is ready, the master
Right.
appears. So there is no one path,
Mm.
right? But every path is leading towards the same light. So it doesn't matter where they were awakened from,
Yeah.
right? Our job is to just provide a space, provide a process.
Hmm.
Because if you don't process it, you will project it.
Would you like to give an advice to somebody like that right now? What is that one thing that I can do if I'm stuck in that state?
I would say keep questioning.
Mm.
Keep questioning, because keep being stuck, because one day you'll get so tired of being stuck and you'll break through.
That's so true.
So don't even try to change that stuckness. Love yourself in that stuckness.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay to be stuck. It's okay to question. But keep questioning, because your questions will lead you to answers.
Yeah.
You know, the fun thing about the universe and our relationship is the moment you question, right, the universe shows up the answer in some way or the other.
True that. Yeah.
And another thing, when you understand the law of inertia, there will always be an external trigger to wake you up.
Hmm.
So it could be the loss of money, the loss of a death one, the breaking of a relationship, some pain. From the pain comes out the light,
Hmm.
right? Because the pain cracks open our heart,
Right.
and for the light to come out. When people ask me, I broke my heart, I say, keep breaking your heart till it stops breaking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So all I want to tell them is,
Hmm.
be kind to yourself. This is not a running race. There's no God up there who's keeping a scorecard on you.
That's so
You
true.
don't want to wake up now, don't wake up. Wake up after 10 years. It's okay.
The whole paradigm of fear is dying. You know, the whole idea of fear mongering, the stories that we've been fed through, ideas, philosophy, religion, the whole idea that you are not the one in control. You're the one who is having this experience by an external reality. And
Yeah.
while the new world clearly says that you are the one experiencing itself as a human now as well. So experience it fully.
Absolutely.
Even the karmic gift that you've given, if you think it's being given from the outside reality, experience it fully.
Yeah.
What's the harm in that?
See, because only from experiencing it fully from the outside will you go inside,
True. Yeah.
right? So I'm only trying to tell everyone, don't judge yourself, because the universe will treat you the way you treat yourself.
Hmm.
So if you're in a bad place, love it and enjoy it. It's okay. You will wake up, because the light in us, the divine in us, has to wake up someday,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And like I told you once again, we are not in a race, but we're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
Yeah. So
Very beautifully put. I know, I mean, it was a great, I think idea to kind of seed into somebody that even in your worst, accept it. Even in
yes.
your worst, know it's part of the journey. You're not stuck. Being stuck is also a stage.
Yeah. Like, it's very easy to love yourself when you have so many $1 billion in your bank, a great relationship, a big house, all those cars, and feeling happy. But how do you love yourself when you're broke and you have a broken heart and you have no relationship and you're stuck in the darkness?
Yeah.
But that's the game, no? The first step is first accept and love yourself where you are. Then pick any course.
Right. Right. So, moving from that whole state, Dr. Ramon, I would like to, because I'm taking this liberty because I'm sitting here and I know you have this plethora of knowledge and gyan that you have to share, right? Can you share something about the whole karmic code in our nature that shifts a human mind beyond treating it as a limiting factor, the way we understand it? In the quantum world, what transpires that we can mold the code and that reality?
Okay.
Any point of action or any point of information that
Yeah.
helps us understand that better.
So I'm going to talk about this from a standpoint of quantum physics first.
Mhm.
So the coded karma that we carry in our blueprint is like trapped matter,
Right.
right? And it comes in the form of, it shows up in a form of, in our life, as experiences, as problems.
So for me
Right.
to believe that, I have to accept that there are different layers to my reality.
Yes. We are
Right.
multidimensional by
Right.
nature, right?
Right.
So we come with a karmic blueprint, right? And let's say there is a coding in my DNA. So when you look at the human DNA, the DNA carries 5% of the information our DNA is carrying, all our karmic blueprint.
And
Karmic
that's
means from my
ancestral.
past. Yeah, past lives.
Okay.
Past lives. Now, and that is trapped matter, trapped energy. So the first rule of physics is energy cannot be created nor destroyed,
Right.
right? So this is one reality that is coded in my DNA and I can't change it.
Right.
Now, if I look at my own example that I gave in the past, that in my karmic DNA with my husband, it was very encoded that we have to go through a divorce.
Mm.
But that's only 5% of my destiny.
Mm.
Now, we have an infinite quantum field that's bubbling with possibility, and new potential.
Yeah.
And even in Avedas, it's said that for reality to exist, we need a Sakshi, an observer.
Right.
So rather than observing on my divorce with my husband,
Mm.
can I start building up new causes into motion? Because the cause I put into motion now will create my future,
Right.
right? So can I now not focus, because energy flows where focus goes. Can I not now focus on this one solidified story and mera divorce hoga, but can I look at every aspect of possibility in the quantum field and start observing my husband and myself as two beautiful souls on a journey and start learning to love? So the whole act of uncreating these codes is developing new, bigger codes
Yeah.
in the quantum field. And again, there's something called quantum collapse. Please understand, something called the observer creates reality through observation.
Right.
But the theory of superposition states the moment I'm not observing reality, that starts collapsing. So now I'm not observing this divorce in my astrology. I'm not observing it at all.
Yeah.
Thumb rule of neuroscience is if you don't use it, you lose it. I'm not observing this. Now I'm only focusing on a new reality. So I'm looking at that and I'm observing it and I'm building it and solidifying it. And that becomes so big that this becomes insignificant. And that's when I put new cause into motion and I'm outcreating my karmic destiny. I'm rewriting a new destiny.
And I have two questions on that. One thing that you talked about, the Sakshi, being the Sakshi, the observer aspect of it, the witness self, which is outside of Ramon or Natasha for that matter. How do I practice that? I know there is a technique, and we do it in Vedantic techniques all the time, the observer practice, that I'm observing myself even sipping a cup of water every single day. There is a micro practice to it. Would you like to talk about that?
So
practice?
it's important we recognize that this observer is not outside us, it's within us, number one. But we zoom it outside us. So this observer is our soul.
Right.
And who we believe we are is the identity and the ego. You understand? So we've somehow merged the soul and the ego as one.
Right.
So Ramon, the identity or my patterns are not who are going to observe it. So when the first step is where I learn to detach my identity from who I truly am, because I'm not the clothes I wear, I'm not my patterns, I'm not my anger, I am not the money that I have, I am not what I do, I'm not doctor. That's just an identity or a mask.
True.
So when I separate myself, my ego from my soul, the soul becomes the observer of the ego, whatever drama is happening. So a true Sakshi is someone who's from a very more purer state. Like, again, when I look at it from physics, right? When a higher frequency is observing a lower frequency, it entrains. There's a theory called entrainment. It entrains the lower frequencies into the higher frequency.
Okay.
So when I become the observer, I is the being, the soul aspect of me, right? From a neutral state. That means I also have to observe my darkness from neutrality, not judging myself, not feeling like, oh, I'm doing wrong. And observe everything from neutrality. That is when I start depolarizing all these extreme polarities and reach singularity.
Right.
Right? So the game here is I have to peel off the masks of my ego first. And what is that ego? Our ego always tells us 4 lies, right? And we are trapped in this forever. And we believe this is who we are. The first lie, and this was by Dr. Wayne Dyer, one of my mentors, where he trained us to believe, to move past the ego. He gave us these distinctions. The first lie that the ego tells us is, I am what I have. So we identify ourselves with all our material wealth and the brands and everything that I have. If I have so many likes, I'm a good person, or people will love me. If I don't have so many likes on my Instagram, then they don't love me and I'm not good enough. So everything, our existence is on about what I have, materially or relationships. So, and this is a trap
Hmm.
because you are not what you have. God or the divine spirit will love a person who has zero money in the bank balance as much as you'd love someone who has tons and billions. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? The second lie that the ego tells us is, I am what I do.
Mm.
So our entire struggle in life is, let's do this, let's do that, let's become this. I've seen so many people, now I'm a doctor, now I'm a lawyer. They keep changing professions because their doing is defining who they are.
Yeah.
Once you move past what I have and what I do, you've peeled away two layers of the ego.
Yeah.
And the third one is, I'm what people think of me.
Mm.
Now, our entire life, we're living around this premise, people pleasing, validation, approval seeking, or then trying to be that good person, but then coming home alone into your darkness and being the bad person to yourself.
Yeah.
So, polarizing the light side and the dark side.
Yeah.
And the last one is who I am, is separate from everyone else.
Mm.
Because we're not separate, we are one. So when you move past these four layers, you find your soul becomes the Sakshi, the observer.
Right.
Because these four layers, observing your reality, will create the same thing.
Yeah.
It'll keep you in a loop.
It's literally a quest to go through one by one,
Yes.
ego by ego, to be able to, they say that I want, even the whole idea of I want to get rid of my ego, it's such a flawed idea to a certain extent, because I think ego definitely helps us stay sane in this reality to a certain extent. But having said that, breaking off that whole ideology of four layers that you talked about, four different egos you talked about, becomes vital for us to get to that Sakshi state,
Yes.
to be able to shift that reality. And I think that's what we also have tried to done with the program. Now, my second followed up question, Ramon, to that was, taking your example, when you said that both of us, husband, wife, realized that we want to make this work, we're going to shift this reality. Now, that even the desire and knowing of that came from love. Is it?
At that point, would I say love or would I say the children? I already had two kids when we realized this,
Hmm.
right? But today, when I look back, there was a lot of love.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like today, when I look back, there is a magnetic force between us as a couple. In spite of all the darkness and the ugly things you go through, you realize the love rules it.
Yeah.
But then we have to give space to that love.
Yeah.
And another thing is important we recognize, Natasha, is we are made up of parts.
Hmm.
Okay. So within me, there is a loving part, there is an angry part, there's a victim,
Yeah.
there's a very spiritual part. So when I look at my husband also, when his ugly side is showing up, rather than energy flows, where focus goes. Rather than focusing on that, I start focusing on his loving part.
Right.
Remember, we use this word that there's this part of you that I love.
Yeah.
This is part of you that I don't like. Because we are made up of parts.
Yeah.
So that part of us that loved each other used to stay on
Right.
and overcome the other parts.
Yeah.
And not that those parts have really gone away anywhere, but they don't show up anymore because the love overpowers it.
Right. I, I think this is one of the most beautiful examples of using that source energy to experience a human reality as a couple, by embracing that aspect. And I think, it's so weird, Dr. Ramon. It's like love is the most beautiful essence that a human can experience.
Yeah.
In any way, shape.
Here, I just want to share, this might help a lot of people. One of the best affirmations that I really followed by, it really made home for me in my heart was, I'm sorry if I hurt you, I see the divine in you.
Yeah.
So the fourth step of the ego, who I am, is not separate from anyone.
Yeah.
We're all one. So if I'm separating from you, I'm separating from myself.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if I hurt you, I see the divine in you. Opens up that space.
Hmm.
To move beyond their dark side to see the divine in them, because the divine lives in everyone.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful example, but I would also, because I keep thinking about this in several different realities and to my reality to a certain extent as well, that there might be a possibility when you're not in a state to accept that. Now, let's take an example of a woman who is, or a man who's going through an abusive relationships, for example, right? This is not going anywhere, right? What choice would I make? Would I choose to look at love, or would I choose to say, this is what it is?
See, coming back to the same thing, and this is very difficult to accept, Natasha, especially like I told you, when you're going through the good times, it's very easy to love everything. But when you're at the worst and you're going through abuse,
Mm.
right? Uh, then it's really, really difficult. And then our fight and flight mode
Yeah.
goes on. So we have only two choices, either fight or run away from the relationship,
True.
right? But then we also have a divine instinct in us. So here, the first step is, like I said, and no matter how they say the truth is bitter,
Mm.
right? This is a bitter truth. At some level of your consciousness, you are attracting that abuse. There's some magnetic force inside you. It could be as simple as a child, when you were beaten up by a parent, you picked up a belief that, oh, I deserve abuse and they're only going to beat me up.
Mm.
And that belief stayed on in your unconscious mind as a solidified block of energy. Now you're vibrating it and it's coming back. So I'm not saying it is your fault. No, I never said this. But it is your responsibility to explore where inside me is this energy of abuse I'm carrying and I'm attracting this.
Yeah.
So rather than running into 10 relationships, I'd rather stay in this relationship and heal it.
Mm.
Right?
Or
And
even make a choice to move out, but one can act differently.
yeah. So sometimes it's very, very important to disconnect from the outside to reconnect to your inside.
Yes.
So moving away from the relationship helps. But as long as the next step is you've gone within.
Mm.
But only disconnecting from a relationship and not going within is not going to change your life.
Yeah. And that's how people end up attracting the same kind of partners over and over again.
First relationship, second relationship, third relationship. And then they wake up maybe in the fourth relationship, but then I'm saying wake up in the first.
Mm.
So much pain. How many years of your life you've invested going through that pain?
Mm.
Was it worth it?
Mm.
Because in the fourth time or the third time also, you did the same stuff. Go
Right.
within.
Yeah.
But like I said, our mind is
Yeah.
so designed for self-preservation. It keeps preserving our beliefs,
Mm.
and we're just projecting everything on the outside. So my only invitation is, the first step is taking responsibility, not taking blame that, like I'm the bad one and they beat me up or they're abusing me. No.
Or they are the bad one.
Or
I'm
they are the
just the
bad
good
one.
Yeah.
So why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
Is the question. First step. And the second step is, rather than projecting it back, process it.
Mm.
Because everything that shows up is unprocessed energy.
Yeah.
Process it, no?
Yeah.
So this 21 days is a very beautiful roadmap to process unprocessed energies.
And again, it's a radical responsibility. I mean,
Yes.
it may sound like that we are not calling a spade a spade. We are calling a spade, but we are saying that while we are calling a spade, let's look at our own internal world and see the role that we played in our own suffering.
Yeah.
Why do we keep repeating the patterns? And I think every answer lies in the internal world, whether that's relationship, whether that's money, whether that's your business, whether that's your children, whether that's your health, right? And I think you've given many tools in this entire program for a person to go through this one individual thing that they would like to work on and utilize all these different tools to dive deeper.
Yes.
Now, coming to tools, come on. Any example would you like to give, or any key tool would you like to share with one person right now that they can immediately use? At least one tool that they can start working with.
If you're really committed to, like I said, the first step to using any tool is radical responsibility.
Mhm.
If you've taken on that responsibility, that whatever showed up in my life, I'm not going to blame someone, but I'm going to take responsibility to change the energy.
Right.
If you're in that space, then the first most immediate tool that I would vouch for is Ho'oponopono,
Beautiful. Yeah.
right? It's a go-to tool because immediately it starts making sense,
Yeah.
right? And you're not saying, so if somebody abused you, you're not saying, I am sorry for the abuse.
Mm.
But you're saying sorry to that energy, wherever it is in any timeline, that has caused this abuse.
Yeah.
Because the moment you given that, you say, I'm sorry, it gives you a sign of accountability that I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Please forgive me. Now that situation that showed up is a negative situation, right? So now when you understand energy, when you put in positive energy in a negative one, you neutralize it.
Yeah.
The third statement, I love you, is you're pouring positive into the negative to neutralize the charge.
Yeah.
So now then possibilities start opening up to look beyond the problem
Hmm.
to create solutions.
Yeah.
And when you say thank you is thank you. You've come into my life to teach me a certain lesson or to show me a part of my karma that needs to be healed.
Yeah.
I think it's a very elegant spiritual tool one can use. But one biggest mistake is people start using it as a coping mechanism,
Mm.
like an
What,
auto
what, do,
program.
what do you mean by that?
So one thing is you're doing it with intention, pure awareness.
Yeah.
Okay. And one thing is it becomes an auto, see, anything that you repeat becomes an auto program memory.
Right.
So most of the people I find that, okay, anything happened, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you and I thank you. It's only happening at the superficial level, but in the heart, they're angry still with the
Oh.
person. So don't make this an auto programmed memory. Do it consciously.
Hmm.
Feel it when you're
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
And it will create miracles. I have so many examples to share about how this tool has really put me in a position of abundance when I was stuck with no money.
Yeah.
Like one simple tool. It's so innocent. Obviously, there are many more integrative tools. I can integrate with Ho'oponopono, but the immediate go-to tool is this, which I would like to tell people.
And you've given several of those tools in the program,
Yes.
of course, right?
Yes.
And I know Ho'oponopono, it's such a simple 4-line mantra per se, but it's extremely powerful. I'm recently getting used to it. You know, one of my friend introduced me to it, and the power that I've been seeing with this whole thing, and it's like any mantra, right? It's not about how many times you repeat it. Even just doing it once with the right intention in that right frame of mind, I think it just unleashes something
Yeah.
that's mystical.
But one thing we have to recognize here, Natasha, is when I'm healing something, right? And I start a mantra chanting, right? I'll give you an example. So there was this one particular situation between me and my son at a certain given point of time. Something was showing up between us. So I'm one person, when something shows up, I instantly take responsibility and I say, I need to clean this up. So taking responsibility doesn't mean that I need to blame myself or blame them. I need to clean this up because it's showing up in our space and it's not making me feel at peace. So I use this mantra, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. It simply means that everybody live in peace, in harmony, and love for each other. So I visualized my son and I did this Loka. I chanted it really from my heart and soul. Now, immediately, what happens is when you're doing a mantra chanting for a cleansing, we expect miracles to show up like, oh, suddenly, things will be all red roses. No, the darkness will come out.
True.
So at that moment, there might be something negative that will show up. And that's a good sign. See, from the chaos came out the cosmos. From disorder comes order.
Yeah.
Now, when that disorder is happening, after you've chanted a mantra, right, your observation should be the end result. You have to direct the energy where you want to go.
Yeah.
This is where most people fail. They chant the mantra, and something negative more shows up. They say, oh my God, this didn't work.
It's just non-acceptance of darkness, I feel.
Yeah.
It's non-acceptance of shadow. It's the goodness and that whole thing. And that's what I love about you. You know, that you talk about shadow work in such a loving, kind, gentle way, and you accept it fully in your life. You say, okay, this is the outcome of it. And that's what exactly you're trying to
Yeah.
say. That it's not just my positive state of mind that I think I'm a good person, I'm a positive person, and I'm doing all these techniques and doing all these modalities, going to temples, having this spiritual life, but I'm negating
The
the
darkness in me.
darkness. And not, and I'm like, oh, that's at the corner. But while it needs to be the main show for some time.
See, Natasha, the first thumb rule of shadow work is if you don't use it consciously, it will keep using you in the wrong places.
That's also
If
true.
you're not acknowledging your dark shadow, right, it is using you in all the wrong places and destroying your life.
Yeah.
You'd rather go there into that basement and embrace that dark wounded side.
Yeah.
And love it for what it is.
Carl Jung very beautifully used to say it. He's like,
Yes.
the shadow runs your life and you keep calling it fate.
Yeah.
And in this case, people keep calling it karma. Very
Absolutely.
beautifully. I mean, such a beautiful conversation we are having,
Yeah.
right? And I know that all your work, you've helped many and thousands of people. You do retreats, you do one-on-one, and now you've chosen to do your first program with us. So we are really grateful for you. And we really thank you for taking this knowledge and wisdom and modalities to more masses and more people that can gain help out of this. Before we kind of leave this conversation today, Ramon, would you like to give any final thoughts onto this whole program that we developed? What could somebody expect out of this? I know radical acceptance would be one big task that people would come to. And in fact, I think only people who are going to radically accept themselves and say, I'm ready for this internal journey, this quest, would come to this program. But what can I expect at the end of it? Is there some expectations that I know we don't need to set expectations that are like life is going to flip, miracles going to happen? That's an outcome of something else. But what would shift for me internally?
So, like I said, this program is just the beginning of a beautiful journey within, right? So it is a very safe container of 21 days. See, what is a container? A container is something inside of which you go and you're safe and you have a process.
Yeah.
So you know how to navigate. So it's a very safe container inside of which you go and you explore something about your life. Right? Subtle changes will create very big results. So it's like that little jhadu that you're going to be doing every single day, little by little, because they say drops of water make up mighty oceans, right? So every day is going to be a new drop into the new version of you. And by the end of 21 days, you'll actually see coming out as a different version of yourself.
Yeah.
Like I said, don't end it at 21 days. Then take up another agenda and do it for another 21 days and another 21 days. And maybe in 2-3 years, you realize you've come so far in this journey and you fall in love with this person that you're becoming. So I would say the expectation is you'll start loving yourself much more.
Yeah.
And
mean,
that's
it's
the key.
True love. It's
Yeah.
true self-love. It's not the skincare or anything.
Yeah.
I think
It's
radically embracing your darkness, your shadow, is true self-love. And I
yes.
think that's what we are gonna do this with this program, of course. Well, thank you so much, Ramon, for doing this with us. I'm really excited and looking forward to feedback on this entire thing. And I know many have seen your podcast with Neo Yug in the past. There was big conversation around karma that happened.
Yeah.
And that's where we realized that it became clear for us as a platform too that what do we stand for? And I think those conversations really help us become clear of what our role is in this entire thing. Is it just a business for us, or is it just, are we part of something much more bigger beyond what we think we are building here? And the answer, or I would say the direction, came through that the goal for Neo Yug is helping people radically transform. Not just accept the current reality and be okay with it and just meditate it through, but radically accept their aspects of every nature that they have and then move from that state to something, I think, to a far more beautiful reality. Because suffering is not it.
Yes. And I also feel then it becomes a part of your dharma, purpose.
Yes.
And I see Neo Yug actually moving from a platform of giving to a platform of dharma, purpose, pure purpose.
Yeah.
And a life without purpose or dharma and a life without cleaning karma cannot take you to moksha. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Very beautifully said. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for playing a role, a very vital role in our journey. We're all, fan of you. The
Thank
entire
you.
team, whenever we look at your podcast, we know there is something at play. There is a modern mystic
Yeah.
who is doing this in a such beautiful, gentle, and humble way. So thank you so much for doing that, Ramon, and taking us through this entire
And
quest.
all I want to say, Neo Yug, I think you'll just bring out the best in me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this with us. What an enlightening conversation. If today's episode lit a spark, remember, awareness is the first step. But integration is where the magic is going to happen. Our karma code isn't just a life sentence, it's a map. And with the right tools, we can navigate it with ease. A huge thanks to Dr. Ramon for sharing her wisdom and guiding us through the science and the spirituality of transformation. If you're ready to go deeper, check out our 21 days Karma Code program, From Loop to Liberation. It's where these insights turn into daily practices that can truly hack our reality. And as always, if this masterclass resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it right now. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep rewriting your code.